Good evening and welcome everyone to this special live town hall, Douglas County CARES Act funding, your nonprofit grant program. My name is Dirk and I'm the moderator for this call. Your Douglas County Commissioners, Roger Partridge, Laura Thomas, and Abe Layden are with us live and looking forward to this community conversation. We'll also be joined by Jennifer Eby, the Assistant Director of Community and Resource Services with Douglas County. To ask a question during this call, please press *3 on your telephone keypad at any time to enter the question queue. And we know everyone has lots of questions, and we'll get to those shortly. But first, we'll hear briefly from your commissioners. Commissioner Thomas, can you hear me?
Yes, Dirk, I can. And I'd like to thank everybody who's calling in tonight to hear all about the Douglas County Grant Program for our nonprofits. The CARES money was authorized by the federal government, and the big counties, the big 5 counties who have population over 500,000 in the state of Colorado, got their money directly in April. Whereas Douglas County did not get their funding. We requested it through the Department of Local Affairs on June 23rd. And then on July 24th, we were notified that our application had been accepted. What's really interesting about Douglas County is that we submitted our application and it included all 5 of our municipalities. That way, Douglas County will submit all of the reimbursement to the Department of Local Affairs and the state government on behalf of our municipalities, because that's what Douglas County does best, is that we partner and just work together to the benefit of all our citizens. Douglas County received a total of $30.1 million that will be available for reimbursement for various requests, whether it's PPE that was requested by the county or other agencies. We also, as you well know, have a small business grant program that's ongoing. And tonight we're here to launch the small grant program for our nonprofits.
Commissioner Partridge, please, sir.
Welcome to our continuing series of the telephone town halls. And as you probably know, tonight's telephone town hall is going to focus on the nonprofit grant program. We want to be able to provide you as much information as possible and answer your questions. So we look forward to communicating with you. Now, each of the 3 of us commissioners will provide some background information. I believe Commissioner Thomas has already provided hers. I would talk a little bit about the CARES Act, which is the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act that Congress passed back in March. It's a $150 billion fund. Of that, there's available $275,000 for 59 of the 64 counties. The 5 largest counties of Adams, Arapahoe, Denver, El Paso, and Jefferson received a separate share. We are part of the $275 million. And as Commissioner Thomas said, Douglas County shares about $30 million of that. So we are very fortunate to be able to bring this program as part of that $30 million to you. Thank you, Dirk.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Partridge. And now Commissioner Layden.
Thank you so much, Dirk, and welcome to our listening audience. I know last time we had a conversation with the small business community about our grant program, and we did get a couple of calls from nonprofits. I believe we got a call from a member of a church asking about the nonprofit community. So this is a really exciting opportunity that the 3 of us have to share with you a little bit more about the nonprofit grant program. And of course, we know that one way Douglas County will use CARES Act funds is for this nonprofit grant program. The Colorado Department of Local Affairs, DOLA, allows reimbursement of increased expenses that nonprofits have incurred as they have responded to COVID-19 needs. So this is just one of many focused uses that are eligible for reimbursement through the CARES Act funds, according to DOLA, but you can see other proposed uses by visiting douglas.co.us/CARES-Act, where you will find a link to proposed expenditures and the budget requirements there. So welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner Layden. And now let's hear from Jennifer Eby, who'll give you a brief overview of the nonprofit grant program and what to expect when you apply. And looking forward to certainly taking your questions here after this comments from Ms. Eby. Ms. Eby, go ahead.
Thank you, Dirk. So just to provide an overview of the grant program, there are a few eligibility criteria that you would need to meet in order to apply to the program. Your organization needs to be a 501c3 serving Douglas County residents. It is not required that you be physically located in Douglas County, but just that you be serving Douglas County residents, that you have incurred expenses since March 1st as a result of COVID, and that your funds be spent within the requirements of the CARES Act. So we have several funding categories that are available that we've heard from nonprofits throughout the pandemic that are areas that they have needed assistance with. So one of those is personal protective equipment, and that equipment can be used for personal safety, such as gloves or masks, or we have categories that can be used for physical improvements so that you can, through your organization, provide ways to maintain safe distances. The second category is for increased service demand. That is going to be for direct assistance that can be provided in several different areas. So we'll get into more of that. And then in addition to that, we can help with operating cost. If you have needed to increase your capacity in order to serve residents, that would be a category as well. So all of this will be listed on our website, and it will be under nonprofit grants. Just to give you an idea of what to expect when you are applying, there will be a downloadable form on the website, and that will be the first step. Our staff will review that, and then we'll be in contact with you to provide some additional information. So.
Thank you very much, Ms. Eby. And now as we go to questions, just a quick reminder, if you have a question you would like to ask live during this call, please press *3 on your telephone keypad, or you can also send your question through the website at douglas.co.us/town hall, and immediately beneath the streaming player be a place for you to put your name and question to submit via online. So again, *3 on your telephone keypad to enter the question queue to ask your question live during this call, or if you're on the website right beneath the streaming player, you can submit your question there. So moving on to our first question, we've got Matt joining us live on the line. Welcome to the call, Matt. Hello, Matt. Looks like we just lost Matt. We will work to get Matt back in line and move to an online question next. This one comes from Laura, and Laura asks, what date do we need to be incorporated as a 501c3 in Douglas County to be eligible? Eby?
Laura, that's a great question. Thank you for bringing that up. If you have received your tax notification letter from the IRS with a date that is, I would say, before March 1st, which is the date when we can start accepting reimbursements, that would probably be a date that would be acceptable.
Thank you very much. And as a reminder, I've seen a number of online questions coming in, but if you're on the phone with us and you want to speak live on this call, simply press *3 on your telephone keypad to be taken to our question queue to be brought live on the call. And live on the call now, we've got Allison from Castle Rock joining us. Allison, go ahead with your comment, please.
Hi, everyone. My name is Allison Cusick, and I work with the Douglas County Community Foundation, and just wanted to show our support and our role that will make sure to encourage 501c3 organizations to apply for reimbursement. And also, I just wanted to say thank you to the commissioners for recognizing the importance of nonprofits in our community and for directing a portion of the CARES Act funding in this way. So thank you.
Thank you very much for your call and comments, Allison. We appreciate you taking part in our conversation this evening. Moving on to the online question. This one's submitted by Laura. And Laura asks, are school districts eligible to apply for these funds?
Thank you, Laura. Appreciate that question. These funds are available to 501c3 charitable organizations. So I do not believe the school district would be eligible unless there were a school district foundation that would be interested in making an application.
Thank you for that clarification. And again, as a reminder, if you have a question you would like to ask, please press *3 on your telephone keypad to enter the question queue and speak live on the call. Or if you're listening to this conversation on the website, you can enter your question beneath the streaming player by submitting your name and question. And so we've got another online question, this one submitted by Paul. Paul wonders, when will the application be made available, and when are the applications due?
Thank you, Paul. It's a very important question. The applications will be made available through our webpage. Again, you want to search for nonprofit grants from the douglas.co.us website. So those applications will be made available at the conclusion of the town hall this evening. And then the applications will be due September 30th.
Thank you, Ms. Eby, for that information. Moving back to a caller now. We've got Jody joining us from Sedalia. Welcome to the call, Jody. What is your question?
Hi. We are a 4-H group, a large 4-H group in Douglas County, and every year we do a fundraiser that supplements us for the whole year. It pays for all the fees and dues and supplies and everything that we all need. This year, we cannot do our haunted hay rides because it is not allowed through Stockton Stable. We bring in about $3,000 to $3,500 a year for this. Is there any way we could be supplemented back for some of this or not?
Hi, Jody. Thank you so much for that question. We understand that there are many organizations like yourself that are in this position that have had to either delay or cancel their fundraising activities. If you are a 501c3 and eligible to apply, then you can apply for some of the other categories, but we would not be able to replace the fundraising donations. That's not something that we would be able to do, but I would encourage you to look at the other categories of funding eligibility and see if there is something that we could help you with through those other areas.
Ms. Eby, thank you very much for that fantastic information and giving guidance on a possible solution for them. Just a reminder, we want to hear from as many of you as possible tonight, and it's very easy to ask a question. If you're listening to this conversation on your telephone, you can press *3 on your telephone keypad at any time to enter the question queue, or you can send your question through the website. Of course, the website address is douglas.co.us/town hall. Let's go on back. We've got another online question to get to. Amy asks, what is the timeline for the grant application?
Thank you, Amy. The way that the grant application will be done is once we have received all of your application materials and supporting documentation, then our staff will be reviewing that for eligibility. And once we've made that determination, we'll be making recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners for their approval of an award. So we expect this process, we'll be reviewing applications as they're received on a first come, first served basis, and we will be reviewing those continuously. So we will do our best to be responsive and to be back in touch with you as soon as possible, but it will likely take at least 3 weeks before you're contacted with an award. But our staff will be in touch with you, and we will continue communication.
Thank you very much, Ms. Eby. Now, as I look on the online questions, there are a number of them that kind of fall into the same category, and so just for clarification purposes, is there a recommended ask amount or guideline of the funds that are available for nonprofits?
That's a great question, Dirk. Thank you for bringing that up. At this point, we have not put a threshold on what can be asked. And the reason for that is that we understand that there are nonprofits of many different sizes throughout the county and providing a multitude of different services. So we want to ensure that we're able to meet those needs. Obviously, we do have a set amount of the CARES funding that has been allocated towards this grant, and we will not be able to exceed that threshold. But we do want to be cognizant of the fact that we have multiple different organizations, different sizes, and they'll have different needs. So there is not a maximum amount or a minimum at this point.
Thank you very much for that clarification and information. Now, here's an interesting question. This one's submitted by Aaron. If our nonprofit has multiple programs, should we submit more than one grant application or combine the programs into one application?
Aaron, thank you for that. I would suggest combining those into one application. Our applications are going to be split up a little differently. If you have incurred expenses that are eligible under the CARES Act from March 1st to essentially the date that you apply, you'd be able to ask for a reimbursement and we'll be able to consider that based on the documentation that you provide. So as long as that's eligible, then we would consider that for reimbursement. The second portion of the grant would be that from September through December 30th, which is the final date that we can accept expenses through the CARES Act. You can submit for ongoing expenses or anticipated expenses that you expect to have. The application is set up so that you can check all of the different categories that would apply to you. And so I would encourage you to do it all in one application, and our staff will be available to work through any questions that might come up as we're going through that. So one application would be fine.
Perfect. As a reminder, if you have a question you'd like to ask live during this call, it's very easy. If you're listening to this conversation on your telephone, just press *3 on your telephone keypad, and you'll be taken to the question queue to speak live on the call. Another online question: can grants be received for new programs that were put in place as a result of COVID community needs, or are funds just for reimbursement or expenses?
So Great question. The grants can be utilized for programs that were put in place to address COVID-19. That really is the intent of the CARES Act. All of the funds that are dispersed through this will be done on a reimbursement basis, however, so you will need to provide supporting documentation to justify those costs. But I would encourage you to apply if that is the case. If you're responding to the needs of COVID-19, that's certainly why we have this grant available, and we want to make sure that those needs are being met within our community and that those funds are being utilized for that.
All right, as we dig deeper into this topic, a question from online. My nonprofit has seen a reduction in donations since COVID-19. Can I request reimbursement for the lost income?
That is a great question, and I know that many nonprofits are in that situation. So the funds are really there to be responsive to the needs of COVID-19. And we understand that many nonprofits are in the situation of having lost donations during this time frame. We cannot use the CARES Act to replace donations. However, I would encourage you to look at all of the different categories of funding that are eligible. And if you need assistance with that, I would encourage you to contact our staff at DC Nonprofit Grants at douglas.co.us or to call us at 303-660-7460 so that we can help walk you through that process. We, again, would not be able to replace donations, donation income that you've lost, but we do want to do what we can to help you recover costs if there are other eligible areas that we can help with.
So another online question, and Amy's wondering, what is the total amount of funding available for all nonprofits through this funding?
Amy, thank you for that. The total amount that we anticipate being available that the commissioners have made available is $2.5 million. We will be doing that, however, in multiple rounds and be requesting reimbursement as we go. So as new rounds are made available, if the commissioners see fit to do so, to move forward with that, then we will make that available, that information available to you on the Douglas County webpage. And that will be on the nonprofit grant webpage. So if you search douglas.co.us, if you go there and search nonprofit grants, you will see an announcement made for additional rounds.
Thank you, Ms. Eby. And Reverend Eric wonders, is there a cap per individual nonprofit?
Reverend, there is not a cap that has been identified at this point. Obviously, we would have to take into account all of the applications that are received. And as I said, it will be the commissioners that make a final decision on awards, but we have not capped it at this point. We do want you to submit in the categories for the reimbursable expenses that you've had as you are responding to the COVID-19 needs that have arisen in our community.
Thank you very much, Ms. Eby, and I'll give you a chance to catch your breath because you have been fielding a lot of questions here. We are about halfway through this live town hall, And we'd like to do a quick poll. Now, this is an opportunity for you to answer the poll question that we're about to ask using your telephone or through the website. So the poll question is as follows. Have you participated in previous Douglas County live town hall events? Your answer is no. This is my first time participating in these events. Press 1. If you have participated in one or a couple previously, press 2. Or if you participated in several of our events, press 3. So again, this is your opportunity to chime in on our poll question. Have you participated in previous Douglas County live town hall events? The answer is no. This is my first time participating in these events. Press 1. The answer is yes. I've participated in one or a couple previously. Press 2. Or if you've participated in several events, so the answer is definitely yes, press 3. As I see the information being tallied up, thank you very much for your responses. And a reminder to ask a question live on this call, you just need to press star 3 on your telephone keypad. Again, to ask a question, please press star 3 on your telephone keypad, or send your question through the website at douglas.co.us/town hall. There, underneath the streaming player, you will find a place to put your name and your question. Now, if your question isn't answered tonight, you can reach out to DC Nonprofit Grants at douglas.co.us. Again, you can reach out at DC Nonprofit Grants at douglas.co.us. Or you can merely call 303-660-7460. Again, telephone number to call is 303-660-7460. And now, let's go ahead and get back to some questions. This one was submitted by LWS online. And outside of the eligibility requirements, are there priority organizations that will be ranked higher?
Thank you for that question. Actually, outside of the eligibility requirements, and given the fact that you are in an eligible category, there will not be any ranking beyond that. We want to ensure that we are meeting the intent of the CARES Act, and that the funds that you are requesting are exceeding what your budget was in the previous year. So that in 2020, your costs are higher than 2019. And then in addition to that, you can submit for eligible expenses that were incurred as of March 1st that will go through up through December 30th. Other than that, we do not have any other eligibility criteria, and we will not be assigning any additional ranking.
All right, looking at all of the online questions, a couple of that are very similar, one from Diana and one from Michelle. They basically boil down to, do cleaning and sanitizing supplies and equipment, including physical cleaning and disinfecting of the physical location, be something that you can request reimbursement for?
Thank you, ladies, for submitting that question. Yes, those are eligible items that can be supported through the personal protective equipment category. Each of those items are eligible. If you have, say, had to bring in services for additional cleaning, that is also something that we can look at. I would encourage you to submit for that, and if you have specific questions related to that, to contact us through that Douglas or DC Nonprofit Grants at douglas.co.us.
Very good. Another online question. Can we receive reimbursement of staff and contract salaries?
So that is a very important question, and one that I'm very glad was brought up. So our understanding under the CARES Act is that salary costs, when you have to bring in somebody, uh, perhaps on a temporary basis, can be covered if those costs are directly related to providing COVID services. So if you had to bring in, say, for example, a position to meet the needs of COVID, we would just ask that, and under the CARES Act, we would have to show that 51% or more of that position's time is spent on CARES Act related or COVID related duties, and also that they are substantially different because of the COVID response related to that. So those are eligible costs, and the cleaning supplies, as you mentioned, are also eligible under the personal protective equipment category.
So our next online question was submitted by Greg. Is there a chance that this program will be available again in 2021?
Greg, that's a great question. And at this time, our understanding through the CARES Act is that the funding would need to be utilized through December 30th of 2020. So going into 2021, we would not have the ability to utilize these funds any longer. So we do need to encourage everyone to submit their applications and to submit their eligible expenses so that we can get those reimbursed for you in a timely manner, since we do have a short time frame on this.
So as a reminder, if you've got a question you would like to ask live on this call, please press *3 on your telephone keypad to enter the question queue. Again, *3 on your telephone keypad will put you into the question queue to speak live and ask your question on this call. Looks like we've got Ron from Parker. Welcome, Ron, to the call. What is your question?
I was wondering if the $2.5 million is exceeded, how will the claims be prioritized or perhaps prorated?
That's a great question. The $2.5 million is the amount that's been budgeted for this nonprofit grant program currently. If there are requests that exceed that, I would have to defer to the commissioners for decisions on how to address that going forward. We would certainly keep track of that and look at that, but that would have to be something that would have to be reassessed at a later date. Right now, we have 2.5 million allocated to this grant fund.
All right, moving forward, another online question. So we are a new nonprofit that just started in April of 2020 to provide food for those impacted by COVID-19. Are our expenses that we incurred to start the nonprofit eligible for reimbursement?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I know that we've had a lot of nonprofits in our community that have been extremely responsive to meeting the needs of COVID-19, and we are extremely grateful for the work that you have done. Understanding that you're in the process of starting your nonprofit and that you likely have a lot of costs that are associated with that. The CARES Act funding that we've identified for this fund can be utilized if they are in direct response to COVID-19 and to providing services related to that. So we would not be able to necessarily support costs for, engaging in these services and starting your nonprofit, considering that you started in April. But if you have incurred costs that have been associated with providing COVID services, those costs are likely eligible under one of the funding categories that we've identified. And in that case, we'd encourage you to contact us so that we can help you decipher which eligible category you could be looking at. We're happy to help with that. So if you would contact us at DC Nonprofit Grants at douglas.co.us or call us at 303-660-7460. We would be happy to help you navigate through that.
Thank you very much, Ms. Eby. Now, for everyone within the sound of my voice, what questions do you still have? To ask your question, you just need to press *3 on your telephone keypad, or you can send your question through the website at douglas.co.us/town hall. And moving to an online question, this one was submitted by Diane. Do we submit an application for current reimbursements and then wait to submit in subsequent rounds for anticipated future expenses?
Hi, Diane. Thank you for that. Actually, you can submit those together. We will be accepting applications for expenses that you've incurred as of March 1st, 2020 to current, so we can do a reimbursement of those. In addition to that, if you anticipate that you'll be providing services now through the end of December, then we will be asking you for what your anticipated monthly costs look like. We'll have you submit a program budget that will be part of the attachments that you provide through this application. And that will allow you to submit both of those at the same time, and we'll be happy to process both of those together.
All right, another online question. If you received a PPP grant/loan, are you still eligible for these grants?
Yeah, that is a great question because a lot of agencies have received payroll protection program loans in order to cover their salary costs, or, as a way to ensure that their employees are supported while we're looking at the different public health orders that have impacted their organizations. So we cannot use these funds in connection with other fund sources. So the salary costs that you might have, if they are covered through the payroll protection loan program, then they would not be eligible for this program. However, we would expect that there would be different categories, other eligible categories, and we would encourage you to look at those. Again, our staff is available to help you with that if need be, but we would encourage you to look at those categories and determine if there are other costs that you might be eligible for.
All right, another question that came in. My nonprofit serves Douglas County residents, but is located outside the county. Am I still eligible for this grant program?
Thank you for that question. That is a very important question. We recognize that we have several nonprofit organizations who are physically located outside of Douglas County, but still serving our Douglas County residents. So our intent with the CARES Act is that we are able to meet the needs of our residents who have been impacted by COVID. We recognize that those organizations are doing that on our behalf, and we want to be able to reimburse those costs. So yes, if you are if you have a location that is outside of Douglas County, but you are serving Douglas County residents, you are eligible to apply for this grant. We will ask, I would say, be prepared in your documentation to identify what percentage of services that your organization provides are for Douglas County residents, because that will be the percentage that we will carry through for reimbursement. We can only reimburse for services for Douglas County residents.
All right, another online question. This one was submitted by Gordon, who wonders, are disbursements made to landlords and utilities on behalf of people in Douglas County hurt by COVID eligible for reimbursement?
It's a great question. We have heard from our nonprofit partners throughout the pandemic that there have been several residents that have been economically impacted. As a result, I'm sure you can imagine lots has happened that would cause that to be the case. When agencies are providing, say, rent or utility assistance directly to the providers on behalf of our residents, yes, that would be an eligible cost. That would be under the direct assistance. We have all of those different types of assistance are available. You would just have to show that it was on a resident's behalf, and that we would need supporting invoices for that. But yes, that would be an eligible cost.
Thank you for that answer, Ms. Eby. Moving on to a caller now. We've got Paula joining us on the line, and this looks more like a commissioner question. So, Commissioner Thomas, I'm going to have you listen to this and see what we can do to help answer this question. Paula, go ahead with your question, please.
Good afternoon, and thank you for taking my call. My question is two parts. First of all, how many additional staff people were hired to administer this program, and how much of that $2.5 million is going to pay for administrative costs, salaries, rent for this program?
So, Paula, thank you for that question. The Douglas County Commissioners made a specific decision that we were not going to hire any additional staff, that we have the staff trained already to do, when they have projects that are assigned to them, they know how to get them done, and they get them done, and they get them done efficiently and effectively. So we are hiring no additional staff. We don't have any overhead also. When we made the agreement with the municipalities that we would apply on their behalf as well, we are not charging the municipalities any kind of administrative fee either, because we feel that all of these dollars need to go directly to the citizens that so desperately need this funding. So thank you, Paula, for asking that question. That's important clarification that we need to have made. Thank you.
Thank you for that answer, Commissioner Thomas. Now we've got a question that was submitted. It starts with, we were fortunate to have received a financial gift from the county for our food bank earlier this year. Are we eligible for this program as well?
Thank you for submitting that question. I will say that early in the pandemic, just to give a little bit of history, the commissioners were able to grant $52,000 to our area food banks in response to the fact that they had over 400% increase in requests for food assistance. When those funds were granted, the intent of that was to cover the food bank's costs through essentially June of 2020. So if, as an area food bank, if you have costs that you have incurred since July 1st and could be through December 30th, and those costs have exceeded what you have budgeted for and what was, I guess, the level of service that was provided in 2019, then those are eligible costs. So again, that would be as of July 1st moving forward. We want to ensure that we are fully supporting our food banks. We know that there has been a tremendous demand on them, and we want to continue to support them as we go forward. So thank you for that question.
Another question we've received: are private donations considered grants? We recently received a large donation which has helped us continue to operate, but has not covered all of our expenses.
Right. I think that's a very important clarification that we need to make, actually. Private donations that you've received that have no associated parameters with it or have not been identified to be used for certain services, they are considered unrestricted funds. So they are not treated the same way, and can be they don't fall under the same restrictions of this grant.
Thank you very much, Ms. Eby. So another question: we've been using volunteers to deliver food to our older residents. Can we reimburse them for their gas mileage through this program?
Thank you for that. I know from working with our nonprofits that we have several agencies that are utilizing volunteer drivers, and they have been utilizing them for delivery of food services. If it is your agency's policy to reimburse for mileage, then that would be considered part of the cost of delivering that service. So that would be an eligible category under our direct assistance for transportation, and we do include the delivery of goods in that. So that would be an eligible cost if you have a predetermined policy that is how you proceed with your transportation costs related to that.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Jennifer Eby, and the Board of County Commissioners, along with everyone who has joined this call tonight. We do have time to take just a few more questions. And looking here, this question was submitted. Our organization invested in new technology so that we could meet with residents remotely during the pandemic. Can we get reimbursed for these costs?
Thank you for that question. We understand that a lot of our nonprofits have had to be very flexible, and they've had to change their services and how their services are provided as a result of the pandemic and COVID-19, and especially as we ensure that our residents are able to remain safe, and if they need to remain in their homes, that they're able to do that. So I know that several organizations have been in the position to need to do virtual activities to provide that. And if you have technology costs that are associated with that, that would be an eligible cost that would be under our operational capacity category. And we have made that available under that category, just knowing that that is something that people will have to be making adjustments for in their programming. So yes, that would be eligible.
So what documentation will be needed or required to request reimbursement?
Yeah, so in order to request a reimbursement, once we have made a determination of award based on your application that's been submitted, we will have a reimbursement form that we will send to you, and we will need you to complete that reimbursement form. That will itemize all your eligible costs that you've incurred as of from the March 1st timeframe to December 30th. You'll need to provide all the documentation such as receipts or invoices to support the costs that you're including. And we then will be able to make reimbursements based on that supporting documentation. So you will have the reimbursement form and the supporting documentation that you'll need to be prepared to provide. Thank you.
So the next question that was submitted starts with, we received an award from the Douglas County Community Foundation to help with the increased need we're seeing in the community. I apply for additional funding through this grant.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that question up. I know we heard earlier on the call from the Douglas County Community Foundation, and I do want to just give them a shout out as they were able to make a COVID recovery fund available for Douglas County, and then through the generous donations that were made to that recovery fund from our community neighbors, I'm sure, and the community coming together. The Douglas County Community Foundation was able to make awards up to they made $50,000 in awards to 22 different organizations. So if you were one of those organizations that received that award, that is wonderful news. This CARES Act the CARES Act funding can't be used for the same type or for the same services that award was connected to. But if you have had additional costs that you've incurred or services that you've provided that were outside of that award that you received from the Community Foundation, that would be eligible. And we would encourage you to consider applying for this nonprofit grant.
All right, looks like we've got time for just one more question, and this is the question. We had to cancel our annual fundraising banquet due to COVID-19, and as a result, lost a significant portion of our annual revenue. Can we recoup this loss through this program?
Yes, thank you for that question. Unfortunately, we know that a lot of agencies were in that position of needing to cancel their fundraising events. We understand that there's donation income that is associated with that many of our organizations depend on to provide their services. Understanding that, we also need to let you know that the CARES Act funding cannot replace donation income. However, again, we do encourage you to look at the application, look at the different funding categories that are available, because we certainly would like to be able to help you in one of those other categories. I think that, there's been there are several different eligibility areas that we can assist with. So I would definitely encourage you to look at that. But unfortunately, we cannot make up for that donation income that you lost by not being able to hold your fundraiser.
So I'd like to say thank you for all of these thoughtful questions tonight. And Jennifer, can you remind participants one more time how they can contact you for assistance or if they have questions?
Absolutely, I would be happy to do that. Thank you for that, Dirk. If you have questions, please contact us at dcnonprofitgrants@douglas.co.us or call us at 303-660-7460. If you have questions about any of the eligibility of the grant or any of the grant information, please visit douglas.co.us and then search for nonprofit grant program. And there will be a lot of helpful information that will be listed on there. And do contact us if you have questions. We're here to help.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Ms. Eby, for sitting in the hot seat and answering all of the questions with such ease and poise tonight. It's amazing, all of the information we're able to share during this call. Now, while we were only able to answer questions about the grant program tonight, we do invite you to submit any questions you may have about other topics, and you can submit those to douglas.co.us/Citizen Connect at any time. Before we conclude our live town hall, we'd like to give your Douglas County Commissioners a few moments for final comments. Commissioner Partridge, let's hear from you first.
Dirk, you did a great job again tonight. Thank you so much. Really thank you to the listening audience for partaking in it. Got some great questions. And I really want to give a shout out to Jennifer Eby and all of our staff. As you can see, we're very fortunate to have a very talented, very informed individuals who really help us administer what this program really should do, is to help those who are in need so that we can see you recover and hopefully come back to and be at a level that is very satisfactory as we all are working through this pandemic situation. So we're all doing great. Numbers are looking good. So thank you, everyone. Keep up the great work.
Thank you, Commissioner Partridge. Commissioner Layden.
Thank you, Dirk. You know, it was really interesting watching Jen Eby answer all of those really challenging questions. But if you really want to know what the heart of this organization is, there was a sign right behind Jen's head, and it was a quote from Dr. Seuss's The Lorax. And I'm sure you all remember the quote, unless someone like you cares a whole lot, nothing's going to get better. It's just not. And I want you to know that Jen Eby cares a whole lot. Your county commissioners care a whole lot, and I know all the nonprofits on this call care a whole lot. And together, we're going to get through this. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you, Commissioner Layden. Commissioner Thomas.
Thank you, Dirk. You know, we recognize in Douglas County that the nonprofits are working every single day to keep our people with the needs that they have. And in the last 6 months, we know that those needs have doubled or quadrupled or multiplied by 10 times. We know that the demand on you has been great, but we haven't heard any whining. We've just heard you all say, how can we get this done? And this is just a small way that we can help you because you've been helping others. And we encourage all of you to apply because we want to give back that $2.5 million so you can keep helping others. On behalf of my fellow commissioners, I'd like to say good night to all of you and God bless. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Thomas. Now, truly, on behalf of Douglas County, everyone on this call, thank you for sharing your time with us. We hope you'll join us again for future town halls. We hope that you will be well, be blessed, have a great night.